Good Sunday morning to you. I'm Meteorologist Ryan Hoke with today's edition of the Hokey video blog. Starting out nice out there this morning, but we've got storms in the forecast for both today, tomorrow, and even as we head into your Tuesday. We'll explain that in detail in just a few minutes. But first, time for today's Hokey weather facts because Derby is coming in just a few days. And let's talk about some historical Derby weather. The coldest temperature ever experienced on Derby Day was 36 degrees, and this happened both in 1940 and 1957. Just 2 years after we hit 36 on Derby Day, we hit the warmest ever Derby Day temperature recorded at 94 degrees back in 1959. I can't imagine sweating it out on Derby Day with that kind of warm weather. We won't be really sweating it out today. Temperatures will get into the lower 80s. We've got a mix of sun and clouds from our Fifth Third Bank Skytrack camera on top of the tumbleweed at Waterfront Park, and I think we'll hold on to that pattern as we go throughout the next few hours. But storms, they'll be on the increase as we head throughout this evening. Not expected to be severe, but maybe a few strong ones here and there with a gust of wind and maybe some small hail as we go throughout tonight's time frame. Let's get you right to the current radar and satellite view in motion. Flood warnings ongoing over portions, or I should say flood watches, over portions of West Tennessee into northeast Arkansas. You see a severe thunderstorm warning down there associated with a little band of storms that's got going near Little Rock there, and then more thunderstorms out toward Kansas. Let's show you the wide view out of the plains where we've got a area of low pressure on the lee side of the Rocky Mountains just east of the Denver area. And then we've got an area of severe weather over Oklahoma and Kansas. This right here, this area between the warm front here and the cold front right here is called the warm sector. Why do we call it the warm sector? Well, it's because air moving in from the south moves in to this section of this mid-latitude cyclone. That's what a big low-pressure system is called over the mid-latitudes. So you get the warm air in here. It moves in some moisture as well. And that makes the environment ripe for thunderstorms, and in some cases, severe thunderstorms, as we're seeing this morning. You'll see more of those severe thunderstorm warnings near Greenville, Mississippi, down there near Jackson, Mississippi as well. But otherwise, this pattern of severe weather out here in this warm sector out in the Great Plains is going to be shifting eastward over the coming, let's say, 12 to 48 hours. It's going to be a pretty big stretch that we do see the potential for a few strong storms and maybe some severe ones as well. Let's run you through Futurecast here. Show you this warm front over us tomorrow morning. So we get a line of storms through here first tonight. Those will be somewhere out here by this time. They will be ending around midnight. So from 5 o'clock to midnight tonight, that's when we've got a chance for some scattered thunderstorms. Those may have some gusty winds, small hail, not expected to be severe. The reason being is because the strongest winds will be west of St. Louis. And you'll see that coming up in just a second. Otherwise, as we move through time, that warm sector becomes more and more entrenched over Kentuckiana. Monday at 6 o'clock, you'll notice the heavy thunderstorms ongoing toward the borders of Tennessee, Alabama, into Mississippi. This is where I think a tornado outbreak could get going. We'll have to see how the atmospheric parameters come together for that. But could we see something up here too? I think we could. I think our southern counties south of I-64 could see the chance for a tornado or two out of this system. I've been poring over the data all morning long, and I've been looking over some of the historical, what we call analogs, that compare previous events to what we are going to see. And I think the evidence is pretty conclusive that we will see the potential for strong damaging winds in our area, some hail possible as well, and the lesser threat would be tornadoes. But we will certainly see the chance for some, so this is something we're going to monitor as we head throughout tomorrow. The best chance for that? After 4 or 5 o'clock, I think, as these storms get going. They could last into the night. Still some disagreement among the computer models on the timing of this, so you want to stay with us for updates. Brian will be in tonight updating you on these chances, but I do think south of I-64, that's going to be the trouble area in our area, but all of us do have the potential for severe weather during this time frame. These storms move out very late on your Monday night. Most of Tuesday, believe it or not, is dry until we get into the evening. Then you'll notice, look at this, another line of thunderstorms again. And these could be severe to our south, south of that line right there. But I do think that some of these could be strong, especially if they propagate northeastward toward the metro Louisville area. You'll see Futurecast is kind of picking up on a little bowing motion there, meaning some winds get entrenched behind this. It may gust out before it gets here, though. The thing, and I cautioned this yesterday, is that the storms moving through on Monday may carry with it some of the instability and some of the best moisture out of the area, so that it leaves these Tuesday storms kind of high and dry. And I still think that is a big potential. Even the Storm Prediction Center is seeing that too. at this point. So it's something that we're not real sure of at this point. This Tuesday threat depends on what happens tonight, tomorrow morning, and tomorrow evening, and how those three play out, and what we're left with for thunderstorm fuel as we head throughout your Tuesday. Nonetheless, cold front will be knocking on our door as we head throughout your Tuesday night, meaning Wednesday may start on the warm side, just in the upper 60s, but then we'll be plunging in temperature as we go throughout the week, and eventually we'll end up in the lower 60s for highs, in the mid-50s, or I should say the mid-40s for lows as we head into Oaks and Derby. Oh my, wish it could be a little warmer for that, couldn't we? Here's how the Storm Prediction Center plays it out over the coming days. There's a moderate risk, basically from Jefferson City, I should say Kansas City, Missouri, on down toward portions of northwest Louisiana. Then there's a slight risk, basically Evansville westward. And there is actually a wind threat. It's like a 5% wind threat that kind of extends slightly east of there into some of our western counties. We'll be watching that tonight. I don't think it's going to be a big deal. It is possible, and not out of the realm of possibility, I should say, that we see a severe thunderstorm warning or two tonight. Again, not going to be the main show. What happens, though, is tomorrow, when we see a moderate risk over portions of west and central Tennessee down into Mississippi and Alabama, then we've got this elevated slight risk. And the reason I put this here, and I usually don't do this, but I think this is important to note, this is a 30% risk area here, where you see the orange where it says elevated slight. The slight risk comes in two forms, a 15% and a 30%. And I like to call this an elevated slight risk when you've got 30. And then there's a 15% risk where you see the yellow. That's just kind of your standard low-end slight risk. So I think areas south of I-64 will be at the greatest threat of any of this residual moderate risk activity that likes to move northeastward into our area. So that's why I'm saying at this point that a few thunderstorms that produce tornadoes aren't out of the question. It's not going to be an outbreak here. I don't think it's going to be, because most of the moisture, most of the storm activity is going to be pent up to our south. And let's hope it stays that way. Let's hope that we can keep all the severe weather to our south, but I don't think that's going to be the case. I think it'll be our southern viewing area that sees most of this as we go through time on your Monday. So all of us are under the threat of severe weather on Monday, but on Tuesday, I think that severe weather threat has pretty much diminished for the most part, because not only has the Storm Prediction Center shifted the slight risk down into portions of the Gulf states, but you'll remember yesterday on the video blog how I talked about we're going to have this issue with the storms flushing out some of the moisture and stuff, and that's why they've gone ahead and put us in just the general storm area. They've also put us under what's called a C text, S-E-E, a C text. And what that means is, hey, look at the text that's underneath the advisory. Well, basically, I'll tell you what the text said. The text said we could see some strong thunderstorms, maybe some hail, maybe an isolated tornado somewhere in this area up in here. I'm not jumping up and down about that potential. We will have the winds aloft to generate something severe here, but the problem is the instability and the moisture will be lacking. So that's why it's confined off to the south and east. This is a tricky setup. And I will caution you, there may be some changes. Tuesday may become absolutely nothing. Tuesday might blow up into something more substantial. We'll just have to see how the previous days react to the storms that we will have had. So here's a timeline. I've put this together just to give you kind of a easy way to figure out what exactly is going to happen. So we go throughout today, 5 o'clock to midnight, gusty winds, small hail possible. We're going to have some scattered storms move through. As we go throughout tomorrow, we're going to have a morning round of storms. Your morning commute, it's going to be a wet one with some thunder possible, but as we go throughout the early afternoon, the storms clear, we recover the atmosphere a bit, we get some heating in here, build some instability. That's when that evening line of severe thunderstorms comes in from the southwest, and that's the one that could be severe with damaging winds. And I didn't have enough room to put this, but a few tornadoes will be possible just south of I-64 as well. Large hail also a concern. On your Tuesday, thunderstorms will move in once again during the evening, so we're going to have a stretch basically from Monday night into Tuesday night. Between that time, we'll be clear of storms for the most part, but some of these storms on your Tuesday could be strong with cooler air to follow. Just how cool are we going to be? Here's the temperature trend as we go throughout the next several days. We're starting in the 80s today. We'll be in the 70s on Monday and Tuesday with those storms moving in. And then by Wednesday, in the upper 60s, but the cold air really doesn't move in until Thursday when we see lower 60s. At this point, Oaks looks like 62 degrees, mostly cloudy, slight chance for a shower. Derby, an even 60 for a high temperature, mostly cloudy, and about a 20% chance for a shower there as well. So Derby weather not looking the best at this point, but at least we won't have severe weather. We'll keep you updated on that potential as we go throughout the week. For now, I'm meteorologist Ryan Hoke. Have a great Sunday.